Hello, welcome to The Slam. I'm Alex Perry and here's what you are talking about this week. And oh man, did it erupt on social media last week. During the coverage of the Honda Classic, pundit Paul Azinger said Tommy Fleetwood, who was in contention at PGA National, will never be considered a great until he's won on the PGA Tour, because apparently the Barracuda Championship would do more for his career than 2 Rolex Series wins and a pair of Abu Dhabi Championships. And of course, golf Twitter erupted. Everyone on this side of the Atlantic were thumb screaming into their phones while the Americans were pointing and laughing and asking why we're all so upset. Yes, most golfers dream of playing on the PGA Tour. If I was a pro, I'd want to play on the American circuit too. But in what world does that make what Azinger said acceptable? I kind of get it from him. He's a former player who only knew life on the PGA Tour. But Dan Hicks alongside him in the booth is a professional broadcaster and should really have called him out on it. Lee Westwood, need I remind you, rose to world #1 without a single PGA Tour victory to his name because thankfully the people at the OWGR aren't quite as ignorant. Now, speaking of utter nonsense, Eddie Pepperell was disqualified from the Qatar Masters for signing for the incorrect score. Right, strap in. His playing partner had recorded a 5 on the 11th where he had actually made a 6 and a 4 on the 16th where he actually made 3. Now, Pepperell correctly picked up on this, but while altering the score on the 16th, he accidentally changed the number on 17 instead. He entered a par 4 at the 16th and a birdie 3 at 17. In fact, he birdied the 16th and parred the 17th. Now, Rule 3.3b brackets 3, when considering a scorecard returned with a wrong score for a hole, states when the return score is lower than the actual score or no score is returned, the player is disqualified. Easy. Yes, it is a simple task to write 18 numbers in 18 boxes and then add them up and put that number in the 19th box. But this is a professional sport where players play for millions each week, not to mention their livelihoods. So is it too much to ask that there is a scorer on each group to do that job? I tend to turn this argument to other sports. So imagine if this happened in football. Manchester United have just beaten Liverpool 3-0 and the managers have signed a piece of paper that says it was 2-0. So the result is wiped from history books. Of course it's ridiculous, which is why it shouldn't happen that way, and it absolutely shouldn't happen in golf. Now, in my little fantasy world, players go into the scorer's hut, match their scores up with that of the scorer, then once everyone has agreed, then that score is signed for. It's foolproof, at least it is in the 5 minutes I've been angry about it. In the case of Pepperell, his playing partner has messed up and he has ultimately paid the price for it. He shot a 71 and he signed for a 71. The fact that he mixed up a couple of the scores in there is utterly irrelevant. The punishment does not fit the crime, and it's just a case of golf kicking itself in the face yet again. And finally, another week and another PGA Tour star openly making a prat of himself on social media. This time it's Scott Piercy stepping up to the plate of no return by sharing an Instagram post that included a reference to a far-right conspiracy group, as well as a meme that mocked the sexuality of former presidential hopeful and openly gay Pete Buttigieg. But the 4-time PGA Tour winner has paid the price for his faux pas after he was dropped by Titleist FootJoy and fashion brand J. Lindeberg. Piercy quickly backtracked, obviously. He trotted out the party line that he never meant to offend anyone, that he wants to apologise but didn't actually apologise, and he will do better. It's always the same, isn't it? Say something utterly horrific about a certain demographic and then tell the world, hey, that's not me, it's the social media equivalent of my dog ate my homework. My advice, if you're a homophobic like Piercy, keep it to yourself. Right, that's enough from me. I'm Alex Perry, and if coronavirus hasn't killed us all, I'll see you next week. Cheers, Em.